My name is Glynn Blasinghim. I've been going to Hermitage Hills Baptist Church ever since I was 19 years old, so that's something in excess of 50 years. I, uh, I'm a curbside prayer in Radical Heart on Wednesday nights, and it's impacted my life in a lot of different ways. It's been a tremendous blessing, number one, to me, and meeting the people and hearing their stories makes me realize how blessed that I am and how God's blessed me so. As a result of that, I think God expects me to bless others. That's why I'm here and listening to people share their stories. One of the greatest blessings is listening to the stories, and one of them in the last couple of weeks was a young lady that I had met several months back but had forgotten about. She's from Iran, and her family, her husband, and herself and her child moved here on the spur of the moment some months ago. I assumed immediately that they were probably Muslims, and I wanted to talk to them and figure out what was going on in their life. Finding out that they were both Christians, and they were Christians in Iran, and they had to meet every Sunday night in a different home to keep the Muslims from finding them. And it wasn't if they were going to be killed or persecuted, they would be killed and persecuted. So, in meeting her a couple of weeks ago, she came in and I asked her what she needed that night. She said, "Nothing. I just came here for comfort and to know that I'm loved." They both were struggling. Her husband was trying to pass his exam for the pharmacist, and she had just passed her exam for audiology. And she began to tell me that there was a lady that worked in Radical Heart with me, and she was actually her angel, and she wanted to meet her angel that night for comfort and for some kindness. And I asked her, did she know the name? She said, sure. And she told me this lady's name. And this lady is just like a sister to me. So I started some sarcastic humor, not aware that the lady didn't realize that I was kidding. And I said something to the effect that she's the meanest woman to me that there is. And this lady's face just turned like I had shot her or something. And looking in her face, I said, "No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding." And she told me who it was, and I could tell that she was looking for this person. All at once, I knew who she was looking for, and I hollered for this lady, and she came over, and they started embracing. And I could see her face while they were hugging, and tears were coming down her face, and she was just, it just made me feel real small that I used sarcastic humor with them and just not realizing that she didn't realize I was kidding. But to see her face light up when she met this person and they were hugging, and and this person had already invested in her life for several weeks. So that's one of the greatest blessings that I see, and there's a lot of other stories like that, and there's more to that story. But to see her face and the tears coming down her eyes and realizing she wasn't there for food or clothing, she was there for comfort, for love. And going back to the blessing, this lady that obviously her name was Brenda, that was her angel. Brenda is part of our team on Wednesday nights. The blessing is of the people that I work with. They're all so loving, and every Wednesday night before we start to minister, we have a huddle, just like a team. And in our huddle, we pray for each other. We share stories, and you grow real close to a lot of the people that are ministering. Not only the ministering to, but being ministered to. So that's just one of the things that impacts my life, is hearing the stories of those that we minister to. But I guess more importantly, ministering to each other as a team on Wednesday night. We just have a deep love for each other and a concern for each other. One of them will come in and doesn't even go to our church, and she just lights up the whole environment as she comes in, and she starts filling boxes and things like that. So some of them that are working in Radical Heart don't even go to church here, but we all have a lot of love and concern for each other. So that's just one of the things that impacts my life. And being a part of Radical Heart since its inception, I've heard so many stories from people, how they're hurting, the things that are going on in their life, and I just realize how blessed that I am to be a part of sharing my blessings with those that we come in contact with. But again, the blessings of working with this group of people on Wednesday night as we huddle, we love each other, we share. And as I said, when the lady from Iran asked me, I said, we're just a bunch of saved sinners here that love the Lord, and we just want to serve the Lord. So tremendous impact in my life in being there to serve and share the blessings that God has shared with me. Being a member here for the number of years that I have been, the fact that we have stayed the course, gone through a lot of dramatic changes with a purpose of reaching out to those that are lost, unsaved, unchurched. It's the fact that we're willing to change to reach out to those that are different from us. They may look different, act different, and when they come into our church, they don't act like church people that we have, or we think, or the way they're supposed to. So I think some of the things that I love about Hermitage Hills is that we have been able to change, but we change not just to be changing, but for a purpose, and that purpose is to reach out to the lost, the unsaved, and the unchurched, and that I can be a part of that. Change is painful, it always is, and the communication part about it makes it easier at times, but again, making changes is always difficult, but realizing that you can't improve anything without changing. I think Vince Lombardi said doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results is insanity. And I think that applies to a church. If we do the same thing over and over, we don't reach out to the younger generation. I think as long as we keep the message the main thing, the methodology, we can change. So I love that Hermitage Hills has been able to make some of those changes, even though they have been painful. A couple of weeks ago in our service that we had on Christmas Eve service, there was two couples came in. One of them was young, one of them was the older. I found out that the older couple was the daughter's mother and father, and I just got to asking them, what brought you here to our Christmas Eve service, realizing they had not been here before. And the father said, my daughter. And I got tickled, and I said, well, what do you mean your daughter brought you here? I said, where do you live? He says, in Pleasant View, which is about 65 miles away. And I said something to the daughter. I said, what brought you here tonight? She says, well, she was from Florida, and they'd just come up to be with their mother and father for Christmas. And she said, I always go to a Christmas Eve service. Couldn't find one. I got online and found out that Hermitage Hills had one. We got your address, and here we are. And so I said, well, our church is a little bit different from some other churches. I said, we're here to reach out to the unsaved and unchurched. And I said, we love people. And I said, people of all sorts, sizes, shapes, forms, doesn't make any difference to us. What you wear, what you look like. I said, we're here to love people. So I said, our service may be a little bit different from what you expected tonight. But I said, I can assure you that you'll be loved before you get out the door tonight. And I said, our church, we're here to serve Jesus. And sometimes it's different. Sometimes we do a good job at it. Sometimes we don't. But we're here to serve Jesus and Him alone. And we're a little bit different, I think, than other churches that I've been to and visited as I traveled around some. And I like that we're different. Our music, we're not the same every day, not the same every Sunday, but we're willing to do things a little bit different.